Hello there, trailblazers. My name is Niiamahashong, and I am absolutely thrilled to be able to serve you here today through this conversation. I have recently been spending my mornings waking up and participating in a morning priming exercise. I don't do meditation. I used to actually, but now I spend my mornings. I wake up, I go by the Singapore River, and I practice some qigong and also some gratitude and some energy exchanges. And recently, there's been a new thing that's come up as part of the practice. I About in November of 2019, I went to an event. It's called the Upreneur Summit. And when I went to that event, I leveraged a tool that I had used as part of my rich living experiences when I served on the leadership team. We were asked to put together what is called a CVR, and it constituted the context, the vision, and the results. And I wrote for this, it was how we were going to be in that experience, starting from the results that we wanted to create to the vision that we had of that captured that result, and into the one phrase context that captured it all. And I remember writing and said, I'm going to the Upreneur Summit. I want to do something different. I'm a coach, and I know this environment might be something that may not have as much room to slow down. It may be about playing at a level that right now is not the level that I play. I understand that game, and I've played it in the past. But for where I'm at right now, it's not about scale, it's about depth. And honestly, the question for me became, can I actually stay in it? Not can I, but how would I stay in integrity with how I show up now when I enter a room that reminded me of how I used to be? And so I created this CVR, and there are elements of this here that now in my morning routine, I go ahead and I include it. I go back and I read it. And the reason for this here is that recently I've been reconnected with my soul's purpose. And what I do is I champion the leaders who are shaping the next era of humanity. And together, we're changing the global culture of humanity. It still feels edgy for me to say that. It's new. It's something that's like, who is this guy? How can I go about and say that? And at the same time, it is the truest thing that I've said in a very long time. And so when I got oriented to that purpose, it actually brought me back to what I had written several months ago. And I'm going to share a little bit with that of that with you now, and just share a little bit about how I set myself up for the day, how I move through every conversation, every moment, such that even when I'm not trying, I just had cake at my co-working space, and someone said, the way that you're showing is just beaming through. Or 2 days ago, I entered my co-working space and someone said, I was on my phone, looking at my phone, watching a video. I was actually watching Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. I realized that I hear us talking about it, but I'm like, what? I've never actually listened to this powerful speech that's lasted over 60 years as one of the most powerful speeches that has come about. And I walked into the room and someone said, wow, I don't know what you're watching. I don't know what's going on for you, but you are moving with such purpose. It's just emanating through you. And it's been interesting hearing that feedback back, because in both of those cases, I'm just chilling. I'm just in my own element. So I want to just read you a little bit. It's not the full element of the ship. I want to read you a little bit of my own CVR, what I remind myself every morning. And as you listen to this here, there's one way you can listen to it, and it's from the standpoint of hearing what it is that I do. That's not really going to serve you, because this is something that I've been crafting and mulling over and bringing to life and editing as I continue to grow. What will serve you, though, is to spend some time thinking about how you want to show up. And how can you remind yourself who you are every single day, such that regardless of how the day has gone, regardless of how the weeks have gone, and regardless of what your external environment around you is saying, you are in integrity with yourself and you're moving in alignment with your purpose. So I'm going to read a little bit here. It's I'm like, oh no. I can feel it. I can feel myself just feeling, oh no, because here it is. This is me. I champion the leaders who are shaping the next era of humanity. I'm an integrated world joy trailblazer, and my why is to lead the world joy movement from an integrated place of ownership so strongly that I serve every person through the model of world joy. I create relationships with people who elevate my platform and message, and I create relationships with people to elevate their platform and messages. The impact of me being here on this earth is helping to usher in the new way that we can be through the inflection point that we're at. I am truly playing at the level that I want to be coming from when it comes to trailblazing world joy. I am not in the shadows. I am not hidden. I am fully seen. I am visible, and I love it all. I stand for something and people know it. I am world joy. We bring together a truly inclusive and empowered world together. I have world joy trailblazers who excite and intimidate me and invest financially with me. I create a game plan and play from that place that comes from the already oriented expression of me. I stand in integrity of who I am and also with who I choose to enroll. I am courageous through all of my actions, and my courage creates opportunities I didn't expect even now. I abundantly create profit and impact. There's actually quite a bit more after that there, but it's now become a part of my routine. And I think part of why I wanted to share this year is just to give us a chance to slow down and orient ourselves here. I champion the leaders who are shaping the next era of humanity. And what's really interesting is, I didn't realize this until this moment here, but I shared with you two people who, without me even trying, picked up that I was operating at a level different than most. There was actually someone who picked up on that before everyone else at the Upreneur Summit. Her name was Kimberly J. And she's one of the people who have had a tremendous impact on me. It's because of the way that she shows up in the world, because of what she's done already. But what really excites me is about what she's creating in the world going forward. So today we get to spend some time with an outlier and trailblazer who, honestly, I'm just really excited to be able to serve and to be able to introduce to the community here. So with that, I'm going to unmute yourself, Kimberly. I'd love to just say hello and bring you on here. How are you? Hold on one second. I'm going to unmute you really quickly. All right, now you're on.
Hey, I'm well. How are you, Nee?
I'm doing great. I'm feeling aligned. I'm feeling in. I'm like ready to play.
You sound it.
Yeah,
I love that.
Can you hear
I
it?
love that energy. Yeah.
Yeah.
From all the way here in like drizzly grey England, I feel that energy come through. And, you know, that's one of the reasons why I absolutely love talking to you. Because you're just like, there's just something about you that just, you know, sets everything off. So yeah, this is exciting to be able to talk to you now.
Yeah. We're gonna get a chance to play. I'm curious what you're interested in getting set off for today, and I'm so grateful that we have the opportunity to connect across the world at any time that we really want. So really grateful for that. So Kimberly, I love to start these things off here by giving us a chance to get to know you. Like I know how I experience you regularly, right? What I love to get a chance to see here is just to really connect with who most people see. If they were just going to like look at the outer parts of what you do in the world and who you've been in the world, your accomplishments, your highlight reel. I'd love for us to get a chance to get to know a little bit of that. And then we'll spend the rest of the conversation around who you are inside that creates all of that.
Okay. This question is always a little bit like strange, isn't it? Like, tell me who you are, tell me what you've done. And in your own mind, you think, I'm just a normal person who's just done normal things.
Yeah, real quick.
There's not much more to it.
I want to call that out. I want to call that out. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I spend a lot of my time with high performers who are doing different things. And you're just like, I'm just living life, you know?
Yeah.
And so thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that. And I also invite you, I don't like, cause I'm realizing here, we haven't had like too many experiences where I've really set the stage here. I invite you to step into a brag zone. So when you work with me, like for me, I like humility doesn't like, it's not necessary. You know, I actually you can you don't have to worry about humility. You can put that over to the side. Arrogance and cockiness, like they don't have like, I don't see things that way. And it's just like, I just want to make sure that I get to know you. And my general thing here is that it also gives me a chance to see how are you already playing the game? So we can see what would actually be beyond that for you. Right. So look at this. My ask here is just like, yeah, let me know. And my invitation to you is to be as selfish as possible. Just knowing that the more that you let me know in this moment here, the better off I can serve you as we continue.
Okay. Just before we even get into that, then, I will say that is, again, such a difficult place to be, because finding a baseline for what is normal and what you consider a brag and what you consider an achievement or an accomplishment is always so difficult. And that is one of the reasons I think why this conversation for me is really quite exciting. Because again, I'm comparing myself with, as we all do, again, we talk about, not comparing ourselves, but we do, to people who I aspire to emulate. And I think, what I've achieved, nothing compared to what they're doing now on the world stage, or what they're able to say, the people that they're able to talk to. And then you often sit and think, who are the people, who are the community that will look at what I've achieved and think, hey, she's done some great things. She's doing great stuff. So it's about trying to find a place where you can comfortably say, actually, I've done this, this, and this, and it's great. And I'm ready to move off from there. So in our conversation today, I'm going to attempt to do that. I'm going to attempt to find ground zero, find the baseline, and that's a place we can jump off from. So Here we go. Yeah, go on.
No, I hear where you're coming from. My invitation to you on this one here is just whatever the baseline is for you, right? Like,
yeah,
I think that's where the part about being selfish is. Like, I have to call it out. Like, I say that I champion the leaders who are shaping the next era of humanity. I know that like there's some people right now that are heads of states or government officials and all that are actually shaping what it looks like right now. And I also know that on some level, this conversation with you is doing that at the same place. There's someone who's going to watch this on some later day who will be that person and will come in and play with there as well. So I say all that because like I get it. I get that level of like I get it on a couple of different levels. And I just want to invite you to be like wherever you are right now, whatever you're proudest of, just share it and like we'll make that that'll be perfect.
Okay. I won't keep everybody holding on for much longer. Let me tell you who I am. So I am an ex-professional dancer turned entrepreneur turned coach. And I'm somebody who has constantly either bucked the trend or achieved what I have using a route or a play that was never expected of me. So I began, I'll try and do this as quickly as I can in a nutshell. But I started out thinking that my career was going to be very academic. And in school, I was exceptionally academic. And when I went to university, I went there to study biomedical science so I could do forensic pathology as a career. Whilst I was at university, or during, for years up until then, so into my second year at university, I also danced. Now, I was not considered anything close to being a professional dancer. In fact, it was definitely a hobby. It was something that I just did for fun, and it was a great release of energy, and it allowed me to be a little bit creative. And I never considered myself a creative because I was an academic, and everybody told me I was an academic, and everybody said that's the path you are going to take. You're smart, you learn, you're able to communicate your knowledge. This is your chosen career. This is your path. And so 2 years into my degree, I decided that that wasn't my path anymore. What I really wanted to do was the thing that I woke up loving doing, and that was dancing. Now, I'd never trained in a formal dance school, or, had anything remotely considered professional dance training. I had nothing like that. My training was in a local youth and community center. It was in hip hop and street dance styles. It was fun. It was cool. It brought the community together. It was that kind of feel. But I loved it. I knew that I loved it, and I knew that that's what I wanted to do every day. So I essentially walked away from my degree and decided that I was going to dance for a living. Now, everybody knows how difficult it is to get into the entertainment industry, let alone if you have not got any kind of formal dance qualification, if you have not trained in any of those formal dance styles, classical, contemporary styles, or jazz styles, which I had nothing. And then, of course, being a woman in the hip hop space, at the time was really strange, because the way women were viewed in hip hop back then was, it was slightly different than now. I guess we've taken a bit more control now, but it was a lot worse back in the 90s. And then also being plus sized in the industry. So I had all of these things that were technically going against me. But still, it was the thing that I loved, and I was just going to do it, and it's what I wanted to do it. And my parents were devastated, because I was an academic and I was supposed to be doing this thing. When I said, I'm just going to go and dance, I'm going to go and do it, pretty much everybody turned around and said, you've made the biggest mistake of your life. This is over. Your life is over for you now. You're 20 years old. Forget about it. But I decided that actually I was just going to give it a shot and see what happened. And that was my mentality back then. Let's just give it a shot and see what happens. If it all falls down, I'll go back to university. I'll be the academic everybody wants me to be. Turns out that for a few years, it did all fall down. It was an exceptionally difficult industry to get into, but I kept on pushing and I kept on going. And even though everybody thought this was going to be the end of me, it turns out that I did manage to forge a career in dance. So starting out teaching, so that way I was able to pay my rent. And then moving on to doing commercial work, which meant that I got to do music videos. And then shortly after that, I got approached. Well, I didn't get approached. I went to an audition for a global sports brand, which at the time when I was at the audition, I was there to support a really good friend of mine. I wasn't there to audition myself because I knew full well I was going to get the no. And I just I couldn't be bothered with the knockback. It was one of those days where I just thought, I don't want to be told no today. I'm doing well. I'm doing okay. This is way beyond me. And that's okay. But my friend, she's great. She's definitely going to get it, and I'll be there to support her, and that's fine. Anyway, long story short, after a massive audition process that took place across Europe, Africa, and the Middle East, I ended up securing a spot as a featured dancer in a Nike commercial.
Now we're going to pause. We're going to
Right.
pause really quickly here. You said the magic key words for me to know that a pause needs to happen. Long story short, right?
Yeah.
So 1 second you're like, they're absolutely not going to choose me, and then you get like a featured dancer spot for Nike. Like, if we had to slow that moment down, right? Slow that experience down. Take us to that moment. Take us to the moment where like you're in that room, you feel that day, right? Like maybe not the entire process, but that first time you're in that room and you're feeling that day, and you're just like, I just don't want to be told no today. Take us to that moment. Take me to that moment. Tell me what happened from there.
That moment happened a few times, interestingly, because the audition process took place over a number of days. So on the first day, when I decided I didn't want to be told no. And actually it was the casting director who said to me, hey, have you put your name down to audition? And I said, no, absolutely not. And he said, well, you've just queued outside for 6.5 hours. You may as well do something now you're here. So I thought, well, that's fun. Yeah, why not? I'll give it a shot. There's no way in hell they are ever going to let me through this audition, but I'll just do it. And I don't care about the outcome. Like there was no pressure. Because I was so sure they'd say no, and it didn't matter to me. And because it was an audition that was recorded, so it wasn't an immediate feedback audition, you just made a tape. I was like, you know what, that's fine. So I did. And going into this audition, they were very specific about the brief, the type of dancer that they wanted. They wanted a female dancer who could booty shake. That's what they called it at the time, booty shake. We hadn't invented twerking necessarily back then, but it was booty shake. And that was against everything I believed in. Absolutely everything. So hearing that this was the brief, I went into that audition. I was like, yo, listen, there is no way on hell I'm doing that on camera. That's mental. I'm going to show you what it is that I do, and I do well. And these are the dance styles that I believe in. And these are the dance styles that I think women in dance should be really focused on training in and becoming brilliant at. Because right now it's very male dominated, and it doesn't need to be. Women are just as strong. Here it is. So I did that. Again, 700 dancers auditioned for them that day. And I was the only one that was like, stuck 2 fingers up at them and said, your brief is ridiculous. I'm not doing it. But that took me through into the next audition. They noticed me. It was different. I guess they just wanted to see just how different I was. In the next audition, again, this was a taped audition, but actually it was live streamed to the choreographer in LA. And although he couldn't feedback to us directly, I knew that he could see it. And in this audition, the brief was, be yourself, but show us all of your classical, all of your contemporary, all of your jazz training, everything that you've been trained beautifully to do in these huge institutions. We want to see it. We want to see your pedigree and where you come from. I was like, man, listen, again, I'm not from that world. I'm a kid who grew up with the local youth and community center. My parents didn't have money to send me to dance school, and even if they did, they wouldn't have sent me there. I'm a kid that had learned hip hop in a very hip hop environment. That's what I do. So the casting director at the time said to me, do you know what, don't worry, just make it up. He says, I'm going to call out the styles, you just make them up. So I said, excuse me, sorry, you're going to call out ballet and I'm just going to make it up? And he said, exactly, just do it. Why not? So I thought, you know what, this is going to be fun. I'm going to do exactly that. So he was like calling out all these styles, and I was like, ballet and jazz, and here's my tap, and completely making it up. The looks of disdain from the professional dancers who trained years to do these styles. And there was me, the street dancer, wearing the hoodie and the cap, showing them what she thought ballet was. It was awful. I was prancing around that studio like a baby elephant. And I hope to goodness that tape never surfaces, because I do not know what it looks like. But in the end, I did the style that, again, I believed in, that I was comfortable in, that just felt like me. It felt like home. That then turned into, from originally 700 girls auditioning down to a top 30 auditioning. Now I'd made it somehow miraculously into the top 10. Now, these top 10 weren't just from London. They had auditioned across Europe to find these top 10. And this audition was the first time I would do my thing in front of a panel of judges, or in front of the choreographer and his assistant. The client that I found out then was Nike. Somebody representing the advertising agency, Wyden and Kennedy, huge advertising agency. They were all there on this massive table just staring. And one by one, we each had to do our thing. And so, again, I went in.
Can I ask a quick question here?
Yes.
Okay. Firstly, thank you. That's really captivating. So I'm with you on this journey here. You've gone from 700 people, and I don't want to hear no today, to a group of 30, and they're calling out different like dance styles, and you're like, I don't know, this like, and you're out there just bringing whatever you can bring to that table there. Like, I just want to just, if you can, you may not be able to, but I'd love to like just go a little bit in your head, a little bit around like, what was it like going, like being in that room with either doing the dances themselves, like just being like, okay, I'm going to be there when it came to the top 30, or being in a room with the top in that top 10. I'd be really curious, like what was going on through your mind, because I'm seeing what's happening on the outside, and I'm really curious, like, all right, and you may not be able to really recall it, but if there's a moment, or if there's a sensation or a feeling that like that came to mind, I'd love to hear a little bit about it.
So actually, yes, I can recall it, because it wasn't the feeling that you probably would expect to have when you're in a room surrounded by these people who were just, experts in their field, in their different dance styles. And again, being watched by some of the greatest dance practitioners in the world. And the feeling in my mind was, I don't care. And it's quite simply because I never had the pressure, or I never thought, there was no way in this world I ever thought that I would succeed. So I had nothing to lose. So in my mind, it was a case of, they can see what this looks like. I'm probably never going to see these people again. This is fun for me, and there's just no way it's going to work. So this is just another audition experience. We'll chalk it up to that. But there was no vision. I had no belief in this. There was, in my mind, it was just for the next 20 minutes, we're going to have some fun. Then I'm going to go back and teach some kids later on this afternoon, because that's what my role was. That was who I was in this ecosystem. So I was willing to it was almost like you go to work with your parents. You go there and you sit in daddy's office and you play around and you draw a picture on his little pad on the desk. And then you go back to school the next day and you say, I had a great time at daddy's office. There's no way I could ever work there, but that's what I did. And it was just a case of, I was able to play there for a little bit, but I was expected to go home tomorrow. And that was completely okay for me.
Yeah. It doesn't surprise me that you say that, to be honest. She was just very unattached to whatever else happened after this year. It's like, you're like, I just didn't care. I love how you said I was able to play there. I'm realizing that play is one of my superpowers, part of my essence. I'm now exploring even with this idea, like the future of work is play,
Yes.
And it feels to me like you stumbled on something really important during this period. I would be remiss in not like, well, let me ask you here before we move on to the top 10. What comes to mind that most people miss around your experience from the first 700 all the way there? What comes to mind that most people miss when they hear this story and they're feeling inspired and they're hearing all these different things here? What's the thing that's missing for them? And that there was just an order of delivery. So
that's okay.
Yeah.
So hang on, I just need to understand what you're asking me. So in terms of kind of being in a scenario where,
let's do this. I actually think that we're like, I'd love to see where this goes. I have a feeling like, and this is me being me here, I have a feeling that it's very easy for you to tell this story. So I want to go to the part where like we'll be able to serve you with what comes next, So share, like, take us down. You're in the room, top 10 here. Tell us a little bit more about that and we'll go on from there.
Okay. I have a feeling I know what you were going to ask, but yes, I'll do this bit and then we'll come back to that. So yeah, top 10. And again, like I said, this is top 10 from these types of auditions where they've had huge numbers of women that they've auditioned across Europe, the EMEA region. And I looked in, and one by one, we each had to audition. And I looked in through the little window in the dance studio, and I saw women who danced, just beyond incredibly. It was that moment where I realized where I was. I was like, oh my gosh, what have I got myself into? This must be a mistake. Surely this is a mistake. They've got this wrong. Because I definitely, this wasn't me, this was them. And this is on them. So when they called my name and I entered into the studio, it was a case of, okay, come in, stand on the mark, face forward. This is, And immediately I scanned this table of judges and realized who I was in front of. And that was the first time any kind of terror hit for me. That was the first time it became real and I went, oh, geez, I'm finally going to hear this no. but all right, let's just get this over with. So the choreographer's assistant came up to me and she explained the concept of the commercial. She said, here's what's going to happen. You're going to do this thing. It's like a battle with the speaker. The speaker's going to go, then you're going to dance against the speaker. And the speaker's going to go again, and you're going to dance. And then it's going to turn into this thing. It's going to be huge. And then, yeah, boom, you win. Oh, okay, let's go. You ready? And I went, yeah. So she went to press play for the music, and the choreographer, who I then recognized, I knew immediately who he was when I saw him. His name's Jamie King, and he is recognized probably as, I think his title now is the highest grossing tour choreographer ever. So if you book him for your tour as a music artist, your tour is going to go through the roof. It's almost guaranteed if you work with him. And he's worked with everybody from Madonna, Prince, Janet Jackson. He's just like a god. And I looked at him and thought, oh man, of all that, I didn't really want him to, I wasn't ready for him. I didn't want him to see me this way, but here I was anyway. So as his assistant went to press play, he put his hand up and he was like, hang on a moment. And I thought, there it is. He's figured it out. I'm not supposed to be there. I'll get my stuff and I'll go. And he came up to me and he quietly whispered in my ear. He said, I'm Jamie King. It's a pleasure to meet you. I've been following your journey from the beginning, and I am really excited about what you're about to do. Have fun. Mind blown. Mind blown. He went and he sat back down, and when she pressed play, I forgot where I was. I forgot who I was. I forgot what it was that I did. I just danced. Like that music, that bass hit, and I went absolutely insane. The feeling inside of me, the feeling that somebody of his magnitude would believe in me, that felt like I belonged there. That after everybody that I'd run into for years before this telling me you're not good enough, you're too fat, you're not trained well enough, the styles you do will never be recognized, all of these things that have been force-fed to me, he had just debunked all of them in 15 seconds. So I just went for it. And it didn't matter for me that this was about a job. It wasn't about a job. It was about just for the next 30 seconds, I was allowed to be me, and it was okay, and it was recognized, and that was it. So I did. I danced like crazy. Even now, it was almost like it's a blur. All I remember is that feeling inside of me, that fire. I picked up my stuff. I walked out of that studio, and I was on top of the world because nothing else mattered now. I had been recognized by somebody, like I said, at his level, that said to me, you belong here. It's okay. And everybody, my parents, everybody told me I didn't belong. So I left there and just thought nothing of it. I wasn't going to get this job. It didn't matter. I'll go back and teach. I taught a great class later on. I did all of this cool stuff because I loved it, because I remembered why I danced. And then a few days later, I was living with my parents at the time, and my dad actually took a telephone message and he tried to relay this telephone message to me, and he's terrible. My dad's awful at taking messages. But he said, there's a fitting on Thursday. You need to be there at 10 a.m. Yes. And I was like, Dad, what does that even, a fitting for what? He said, you're doing a Nike commercial. I said, what? He said, they rang, they left a message on the answer machine. You're doing a Nike commercial. Fitting is on Thursday. Anyway, see you later, bye. He put down the phone and I was like, what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
So the feeling of, being really nonchalant through all of this audition process and not caring because it didn't matter, because I knew I didn't belong there. And like I said, I could play there and leave because, that wasn't my space, and it was just fun to do so anyway. Which then completely, sort of flipped on its head when somebody said, you matter. Your talent is valid here. What you can do, we want to see it. You belong. We see you. Changed everything for me. It changed everything. The way I approached my dance after that it was completely different, total 180.
Yeah, I get the sense of that. I get this, like, thank you for sharing that. Like, 'cause I've heard some of the highlights here, but like to really be in this story. Thank you for slowing down too with this here. Let's see. I want to receive that story here. How are you feeling right now? Because I get the. Have you told this story before?
A couple of times I have.
Couple
yes.
times, yeah.
But it doesn't. Every time I tell it, it still makes me go, ah!
Yeah. Cool. So let's take some of that. Like the question I have for you right now, because we're gonna switch it. I want to hear a little bit more about what you're doing now, right? Mm-hmm. So take us on that journey really quickly here. Actually, don't take us to the journey. Take us to this moment right here, right? Because I get the sense here that I'm like I need to serve this woman really powerfully, and it's gonna come with what comes next, right?
Yeah.
So take us to where you are right now.
So right now, I'm in quite a strange place. Mm-hmm. And I was explaining this to you before we started recording, that I'm in a place of frustration. What I want to be doing is helping people like me who didn't necessarily see that they belonged or that they should be in this space or play in this space or have a voice or that they were valid in a particular space. Helping those people to be able to step into those shoes. So helping, whether it's small business owners or freelancers or even, medium or big business owners, or people who are employed by those organizations, to see that there is so much more and not be afraid to march towards it. So for me, after, I told you the story about getting, my first huge dance gig. That landed me. From there, I went on to become a signed Nike athlete. I went on to do some brilliant things. I worked for Madonna because she saw me in the commercials and asked me to come and appear in her music videos. It opened so many doors and opportunities for me because I went and put myself in this really awkward and uncomfortable space in the first place. And I realized that there are so many opportunities for people to do that. And a lot of people aren't taking those opportunities either because they don't believe in themselves that they can do it, or they just don't feel like they fit a mold. So I guess what I do really, really well is I help people to be able to smash through those glass ceilings to meet that potential. And right now, what that looks like, how that's kind of appearing, is a program that I've set up called Land the Brand, which is about helping small business owners, freelancers, artists, athletes, and entrepreneurs in general be able to talk to large companies for partnerships, for sponsorships, and for sales opportunities. Because a big part of this is being able to talk to these Goliaths and wave your hand and show them that you exist and show them that you're there and that you deserve their attention and that actually you can help them. And there are so many people out there that can help and they just don't realize it. So as I spent my time working with Nike, I started off as an athlete. I went on to become a consultant. And what that meant was I worked with them on campaigns specifically around women and women in sport, and then also young people and youth culture, to help them connect with those audiences in a way that was, I want to say authentic, because that's like the buzzword.
Kimberly, yeah. I'm going to ask you really quickly here to bottom line this part of the story. And I'm going to say that here because I have a feeling here that like it's gonna like, and I've said this a couple. It's not that, and the thing is that it's not that you'll talk forever. It's that for where you're headed next, it's probably a lot easier to talk about this stuff than to go and talk about the unknown that's coming up. And I know we have a time limit for today, and I'm like, I'm not gonna let her just like miss out on this. If you're going to miss out on it, I want you to do it actively. The other part of it, if I'm going to be really real with you, I'm like, I'm not going to let you hide by selling me a story here. I bottom line right now for us here? Bring us to the
Yeah.
conclusion to this moment, right?
So the bottom line is, I am trying to find that community of people who want to make that leap. And I want to be able to attract these people who will allow me to help them. But at the same time, I have to be sure that I can manage my life outside of it. So here's the struggle. It's finding this balance. It's this balance of, there are so many people that are destined for great things and they don't know it yet, but I could show them that. They don't know what they don't know. So I need them somehow to find me and allow them to listen and hear how incredible they are so that I can help them get to that next point. But in the meantime, whilst this is all happening, I still have a family, bills to pay, make sure we keep a roof over our head.
Absolutely.
So the frustration for me, or the difficulty for me, is being able to find and serve those people, which I know I can do really, really well, and still be able to manage financially and have some level of financial security. Because, there's so much I want to be doing, and there's so much I feel like I could be doing, but at the same time, the bills come first. So there's this place where I am, where I'm hitting this wall. I'm hitting my own glass ceiling, where I'm like, I'm having to do other work or having to coach other things because people feel they need this type of coaching. And I look at it and I think, well, this is not really what you need. We should be looking at something else. But I can't, because actually what they're paying for is they're like, I want to pay for this coaching. I want to do this. And that's how it is. So I found myself being pulled away from what I feel I'm really here to do in order to pay the bills. And I can't cross that cavern.
Yep.
That's the bottom line.
I got you there. Why did you install that glass ceiling?
Why did I install it?
Yep.
That's a good question. I think because here's the thing, the difference between, I guess then, when we had Kim, who was able to kind of just, be nonchalant, play. We had the Kim that was able to play. The Kim that was able to play had no responsibilities. She had nobody to take care of. She had nothing that she needed to do. She could just go out there and do whatever she needed to, and always know that she could come home to mommy and daddy's house.
Yep.
Kim now has a son. She has a family. Bills to pay, things that I need to be responsible for. There is no room for negotiation on that. The ceiling is set. You have to be able to hit this in order to move forward. It's the only way that this is going to work. To
me, that feels like the floor is set. Like just being in this conversation, right? It's like the floor is set. Like at this point in the game, you're not like, you have more responsibilities. There's more things going on. And I get this. And what it comes up a lot with my Trailblazers, where it's like, look, the way that I've done it in the past, it required me to do X, Y, and Z, or I had to either give this up, or I was willing to live with a lower level of livelihood. But for the game that I'm playing right now, that's not even an option, Mm-hmm. And there's a part of me that feels like I'm hearing that, like, for what you can envision right now, you're like, your livelihood can't take a hit along the way. And if I'm also getting you right, the Kim of the past, if I was going to do this the way that the Kim of the past did it, your livelihood would have to take a hit. Am I getting that right?
That's exactly it. That is exactly it. It's almost like there's a fear. There is a fear. There's a very solid fear.
Yep.
Of, giving up security and letting down people around me who rely on me, for this potential, this space, this place I want to go and play in. I know that, this is where I belong.
Yep.
Versus now where I really should be playing in order just to live life, and it's just such a frustrating place to sit.
Tell me more about the frustration. You've used that word a few different times, and like I really honor you for calling out the frustration. Tell me more about it.
It's the idea that that you can do more. I remember back in school, one of the things that, you know, my parents instilled into me, especially my father, he was very, very strict with us. He was that you could always learn ahead. And he did that with me, my brother and my sister. So one of the things we do on weekends, whereas everybody else, all the other kids would be out playing, we'd do homework that wasn't set by the school, it was set by him. So I was learning advanced level mathematics at the age of 8 or 9. You know, I was happily making my way through trigonometry, algebra, all of these, you know, places where, and well, I wouldn't say happily, to be honest with you. I wasn't happy at all to do it, but I just, you know, my dad thought that was the best thing for us. Again, it's questionable now, but anyway. So when I got to school and they were giving us the level of work that they thought we should be, you know, the level of attainment we should be making, I had surpassed this years ago. Yep. So the sorts of work they were giving us in the class, I knew I could do with my eyes closed. I remember once my dad getting really annoyed and coming into the school and seeing the teacher and saying to her, why can't you set higher level work for my daughter? And her saying, because it doesn't exist. Because I've not even studied that far. And that is exactly how I feel right now. I feel like I've already been there and I've done that. And I can do this with my eyes closed. Yep. But there isn't, it's almost like out there, it doesn't exist yet. The level that I want to play at, it's not, I can't find it. It's not there.
Yeah, it isn't. And the reason is because you haven't created it yet.
Oh. Yeah, okay. So then that turns everything on its head somewhat. And you realize, I guess, that...
Who realizes? Sorry.
I realize. Yeah. I realize. I say you, as in, you know, like everybody, but I realize...
Keep going. Keep going.
That this, I guess this hasn't been... It's not been written. And, you know, it's up to me to write it. And I guess... This has always been, it's always been this way. Yeah. And back when I danced and I did things that were never, you know, that I, in theory, should never have been able to do. I should never have been able to achieve it. It's because I went out there and I wrote it. You know, I built this space that said, I'm allowed to stand here and I'm allowed to do this. I think, again, one of the things that really worries me, scares me. I'm going to say scares me.
Pause before we get there, because I hear you. My job now is to not like buy any more of your stories. I listened for a while, right? But like I'm not here to purchase your stories anymore, right? So there's a couple different things here that like we need to just like slow down, right? Everything you need was in that story you told me. Everything you need was in that audition room. Everything you need, like it's already there. For some reason, I like you talk about land the brand and you talk about it like as a thing about, as I hear it, I'm like, land the brand is not about like helping people speak to X, Y, and Z people, right? It's about helping people be able to create their unconventional path to get into rooms with people who wouldn't expect them to be there. Mm-hmm. That's like one of the ways that you did it was because you learned the language. Another way that you did it, you landed the brand through your movement to start out with. And here goes the thing. I forget his name, and I apologize because I know I didn't write it down. But when that gentleman came up to you and said the words that he said that made you realize that you belong, it wasn't him pulling you up by your bootstraps. It wasn't him coming out and saying, "Hey, like you're some random person on the street, and I flipped a coin, and today number 705 gets to hear me whisper." You had earned that. To me, that like that was just like time had just caught up to where you were, and finally someone could say it to you in a way that you could hear it. Yeah. Because they were telling you over and over again, "Hey, you're great. That's how you made it to the top 30. Hey, you're great. You made it to the top 10. You couldn't hear it. I like, so there's an element of this here that I just want to, like, I want to play with you here, because like, I think the thing is I recognize it so much for myself. If I'm going to be very honest, it's like I got into Cornell. I never even heard of the school, you know, like it's like my whole life story is just like this series of things that feel like random serendipity. And it's like, and honestly, like I like belonging is something that's just really true for me. It just has gone all the way through. Like when I got into Cornell, there was someone that was in my high school group next to me who said, "Can you believe out of all of us, Niiamah's the one that got into an Ivy League school?" Like I wasn't doing the homework. I wasn't doing like all these things. I worked at a top 4 consulting company afterwards. Like I was the person that was like falling asleep in class if I even went to class. Like I was a bad student. I was actually just talking to someone and showing them my transcript. I was like, yo, here goes the reality of it. And yet I got into places that most people had like worked their asses off with this as their goal. And it's like, okay, cool. Now I'm doing this, you know? And I feel like I feel that when I talk to you. I feel like and what really feels here is like, for some reason things like the game seemed to change on you, and you went from being the only and being unique to trying to be the best. And it's like that's not the game that gives you just regular rewards. Like in that game, if you were trying to beat those people back in that dance competition at being the best ballet, tap, multi-type professor, like you would have lost completely, because that wasn't your game. So if we were going to play this game differently here, right? Like let's just look at this differently. If Land the Brand was actually way more than what you were making it to be right now, and you were really going to fully step into what that actually stands for you, how would you be doing things then?
You mean like on a day-to-day basis?
Like if nothing's coming to you right now, I'm going to let that question go.
Yeah.
Right? Let me check in with you. When I say this stuff to you right here, what's going on inside of you? Like not in your head. Because like what you told me here is that like you felt the fire in you and you just didn't care. Right?
Yeah.
That fire. Where's that fire now?
It's still there, but there's still this level. It's still controlled. It's a very controlled blaze, whereas before it wasn't. It was just allowed to go and spread and do whatever it wants to do. Now it's very controlled, and I find myself caught in this place where, you know, it's that question: am I exactly where I need to be right now, or should I be doing more to put myself in the place where I need to be right now? And it's trying to find.
Let me ask you that. Let me just ask you a quick question with that. How are those two questions serving you right now?
I guess what I'm trying to find is that the floor. Maybe that's what I'm trying to find. I'm trying to find the floor.
To tell you the truth, like I part of me kind of gets that. I want to explore a little bit more with you, but like what it feels like to me is that you have already surpassed everything that one might have thought that you would have created, and now you're moving into a new arena. And for some reason, you're like, well, I'm now entering into this place here. Let me figure out so that I don't like look dumb what tap looks like, what all this, and let me go through, let me do the paces of doing all those things here. And you're literally installed. Like, this is what I feel like. It's like you're like, I'm looking for the floor. Like when you're playing a game that's all the way up here, you're looking down and behind you. And I'm like, I'm trying
to do the homework before the class.
Yeah. I got you.
But I don't know what that is. That's the thing. Like I don't, and I'm reaching and grabbing for stuff that.
Yeah, like, I totally hear you. What you haven't realized is that you've already passed the finish line and you're like out there looking for it still. Yeah. Right? Like
you said that to me. I'm just gonna like Please. Put this in there as well. You said that to me during that Upreneur summit. that we both attended. You know, those words that you said to me have been on my mind ever since I met you back in November last year. The idea that I was there and I was looking for this something that was going to validate what I did do and give me a place within this hierarchy. And you said to me directly, what you are looking for, it's not here. You're not going to find it here. You're looking in the wrong place, if you should even be looking at all. And that just, it blew my mind, Niiamah, even as I say it right now. Like, it's in the forefront of my mind, but every so often I do forget it. I think I've got to print it out and put it on a wall. Yeah. But, you know, I forget that. And when you ask me to tell you my story and where I've come from, often I forget that all of that has happened. And I live in this now. And I have the insecurities of now and the fears of now, forgetting how far on this journey I've already come. And realizing, the other thing you made me realize is that this finish line that I'm looking for, there is no finish line. That's
there
the
was,
point of
you
this.
passed it a while ago, you know. And it's been you your whole life to be in class and you're like, I'm doing like advanced calculus, you know, and people are like it's been you your whole life. Like, here goes the thing. I'm going to say unfortunately, but I don't mean it actually, right? I think it's part of the reason why our paths have crossed here, right? You are not someone who can go and live by someone else's roadmap or plan. Like, if you do that, I caught the word frustration, and I feel like that's where the frustration goes, where it's like you're putting in a lot more work than you probably ever had to. You like you're working far harder for like less than like standard results, pretty mediocre results. I'm just generally, yeah. I'm assuming, right? And you're like, and you also have this passive, like, knowing that it's been easy for you. And now like there's this element here. I'm like, it's interesting that you're saying frustrated in particular. Like there's I can tell, like, there's something there. So when I say this here, let me just check in with you. Like, I'm making up my own stories. When I say this and I call this out here, what are you feeling inside?
You're right. You are completely right. And it is that I've tried to model what this looks like based on, you know, other ideas and theories and business models and that sort of thing. Because I feel like for some reason in my head, that's the only way I can measure this as a success. And you're right. Right now, I feel like I'm putting in the work. I am not getting even nearly close to the results that I know that I can. And I'm doing it on somebody else's path. Yeah. Because for some reason I'm afraid, or I won't blaze my own trail in this when it's what I've been doing my entire life. But for some reason right now, I guess, no, I can't even I'm saying I guess because it's business. It's got nothing to do with it. It's just that I get there's so many, I read books, I've done the learning, yeah. I've listened to the talks, I've just been to every conference, and they say this is the way. And I hurt myself by doing that, because it just kind of, it adds another layer of code to this journey that I'm on. And this programming, when in actual fact, all of that needs to go out the window, and I need to start from a blank screen, and I need to do it in the way that feels right for me, and have that confidence that I can do this.
Yeah,
but
it's the really fear of, because you say confidence and it feels good. And I have a belief now that like confidence is a result of courage. It comes afterwards, like in that.
Yes.
And yet it still feels too heavy for you.
Yeah.
You know, like
right.
there's an element of this where you're like, where you said, I don't want to be told no today. And it feels like you've been telling yourself no over and over and over and over and over again, right? Just subconsciously. It's like, what I want to do, no, don't do that. What I want to get there, nope, that's not going to work. You don't have, and look, here's the reason I'm tracking on this from a couple of different places. And you know, like I was an actuary working at Deloitte, and I was like, nope, I'm going to go and like work at a tech company. And like people are like, what? Like you have the job. Like, what are you doing? You spent 6 years of your life getting credentials, all this stuff. Like you must be silly, you know? Other people are like, oh yeah, this is exactly like, I was wondering why you were an actuary in the first place, you know? I'm now working at this tech company. I've been there for 2 years, and like I'm on this coveted people experience team. People want to go, and like my job was to focus on the people of that organization and help them be successful. My wife's like, hey, I'm ready to go travel abroad. And so I left that and came out to Singapore and started to, like, you know, went in a completely different direction. People are like, what? Like you don't sacrifice amazing because you have great. And there's something about that there where it's like I get the pressures from others who haven't lived your life. You've had to make it up the entire time.
Yeah. And years ago that felt fine.
Yeah.
But as I get older,
yeah,
it just gets harder.
Okay, so what like where did the hardness come in from this? Because like let's talk about this. One thing to have to see it, right? But it came for a reason. So let me just ask you here, what's the gift? What's the benefit that you've received from deciding to take it on this way?
The benefit is probably that I retain control. And that's both good and bad. So the benefit is that of me doing things my way is that they are my way. And that I can work them how I need to. The reason why that's bad is because...
Hold on one second before we get there.
Yeah.
Let me just see here. What is the gift of you following other people's models right now?
So that ideally, and I'm realizing as I'm talking to you, this is unraveling. But that is that they've been there and they've done that and they've made mistakes and you can learn from that. So if you read the book, you don't have to go through that. It allows you to leap. Whereas before you were making steps along this journey, you can start to run.
No,
but what I'm realizing now,
yeah, go ahead. What
do
you realize?
I'm running in the wrong direction.
Now, before you were flying, my friend.
Yeah.
Before you were flying, and now you're walking. That's like they're trying to teach you this great thing called running, you know?
Yeah.
And you were flying. And you're learning they're running things with like your wings and all this. And you're like, why am I no longer soaring? This running thing is supposed to be really, really awesome. And so I want to call that out for you. Like they don't have your answers.
Yeah.
People are going to read your books. People like, this is what Land the Brand stands. Like there's going to be someone else out there that like knows how, like remembers what it was like to fly, but doesn't feel like they can get back into that group. They're going to like, that's you. Your job is to remind people how to fly, not how to run. People talk to me all the time. They're like, I'm just trying to figure out my next steps. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not interested. Your next steps, you can see it. To me, that's a linear path. You take one step in front of the other. Maybe you accelerate those steps, but that's just running.
Yeah.
I talk to people about like, I want to talk to you about your next level. That's flying. That's elevating. That's getting to places in ways that other people just don't get to.
Yeah. And you're right in saying that. I was there and I've come back and I've hit the ground again and I'm running again. You're right. I'm running. But I need to take off. And is something stopping me? I don't know. I guess something is blocking me, is stopping me. I've got stories. I've got excuses for days. I've got to fly again. I've got to leave the ground.
Would you choose?
And like I said, I can help others to do that.
Yep.
I've got to do it.
And here goes the thing. This is where the challenge is. You want people to see you. Like you said earlier, like I want to figure out how they can hear me and I want to go out there and tell them. I want to like how you do it is that you fly. I was talking about you when we first started this year, right? There's a reason why you sat at the table that I sat at. There's a reason that we had the conversations that we had there, because you said to me, and it was wild to me, but you said, Niiamah, you're like, you're walking, like, I don't get why you're here. I have never forgotten this. You said this to me, like, I don't get why you're here. Like, and I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, from the moment I laid eyes on you, I was like, this guy is meant for something way bigger than what's happening in this room.
Yep. I knew immediately this wasn't your room.
Yeah. And now, and we are talking. And because of that, it continued me down the path to come out today and boldly state my truth, where I champion the leaders who shape the next era of humanity. My friend, I need to see you. It's like land in the brain. It's like in the opposite direction. It's like there's something there around, like it's just a different energy. And like what I would invite you is to not have to brand yourself, but instead to be a beacon. To be a beacon of like someone who's been a high flyer that's continuing to fly high. And I'm gonna share something with you that just happened to me the other day. And the thing was, it was like, we can go through this whole process of like trying to understand or shift or whatever, or we can make a declaration and just call it out, right? So like, I'd love to invite you here, if you're open to it, to make a declaration. If flying again is something that's really for you here, I want to invite you to make a declaration to really just feel like, all right, going forward. And we're getting close to the time where you said you have to leave, so I'm going to like wrap things up afterwards. But I want to call out some things that can be like a compass for you, so that in any given moment how you can practice that. Is that okay with you?
Oh yes.
Okay, cool. Are you open to making a declaration in this moment?
I am.
Okay. Make an energetically aligned declaration that's true to you in this moment.
Oh gosh.
Mm-hmm. So pulse, you can make it, right? But like, I don't believe in lip service. If it's not there, right?
Yeah.
But I want to call it out. Like, it doesn't need to be a long journey, all that stuff. They called you in the room and said, you've been waiting 6.5 hours. Why don't you come out here and dance? So I'm going to call out some things for you right here. If you want to make the declaration, just stop me and just do it, right? Mm-hmm. Because I'll tell you right now, my whole community is high flyers. And some people in this community should be working with you and not with me. And I can say that very, very openly and very honestly, right? There's some things that you do that I don't. We are collaborators in what we are creating here. So if there's something that you want to put out from that perspective, like, just know that in this moment, if it wasn't about you, it was about you actually being the model of the high flyer. Mm-hmm. What would you say? What needs to be said?
I declare that I, Kimberly J, I am going to fly so that I'm able to take the flock of incredible people to the heights that they deserve to soar at. I recognize it's not about me. It's about them. I have the power to take them high. I should step into that. I will step into that, and I will do that.
And so it is. And I want you to know, like, in this moment, there's some of your flock that have decided to make a decision to come and fly with you in this moment. And the reason here is because you're allowing yourself to be seen here. You're making a decision to fly and to bring your flock of people to heights that they deserve to be at. There's a completely different element to that there than landing. You're in a different direction. You're in a very different direction. You're not trying to turn yourself down. You like, so let's bring this here as we raise ourselves up into wherever the next conversation is. As we raise ourselves up here, I want to call out a couple things that you shared with me. It might take us a little bit, like 5 minutes. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
I want to call out a few things here that you shared with me. You might want to write some of these down. And the reason for this here is that what I'm going to share back is your compass, your North Star. For when Kimberly J is flying, this is what's happening. And you can go ahead later on and maybe write down your South Star, whatever it is, so that you can see like when you're playing the game of being on someone else's path. That way you have both of those things. The element here is around bringing up awareness around this here. We talked in November, and this our next time talking is now. Like we don't want this amount of time to go through between before you see it again, right? So let's find out ways for you to be able to raise your awareness on it. You can do the work on your own around like how do you show up, or what are some of the signals around that. Some things that you said here. Let's just give it a shot. Look at that. Like right away, there's like right away, it's just like, What are you feeling right now when they say that?
I feel that it sounds completely irresponsible, but it speaks to every core of my being. Hearing it sounds ridiculous. It's like, why would you do that? Why would you take risks like that? But it's exactly what I do.
That's like this is what most people don't understand. Right? It might be that you forgot. For you, completely irresponsible is the most responsible thing you can do.
Yeah.
It is like I'm hearing you talk like it's like on one side you're like, I want these results. I want to be able to provide for my family in this way. So I'm going to do all the things that don't work for me.
Yeah. Yes.
That's what I'm hearing you say. And I'm like, Kimberly, I care too much about you to go down that path with you. Like,
yeah.
And it's part of the reason why we're sitting here having a recorded coaching conversation, because I was doing that for myself. I wanted to learn some of the things. I want to build up the skills. Like it takes a lot for me to be able to be this honest with you, and to have it recorded and all this other stuff and get it out into the world. But this is how I have to play the game. I don't want to go sit in a room alone with people. Like, no, this is what I want. And like in the last week, I've had like 4 people come out of nowhere that are like, hey, by the way, there's like someone that needs to work with you. They're an outlier and a trailblazer, and they're struggling to find the support that they need. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, go figure that all I needed to do was actually stop trying to be like everyone else. Stop trying to figure out how to make it so that they can understand and take it. And instead just let myself unleash. Remove that ceiling. Yep. And here goes the fun part. You installed it. So you can just be like, oh, hey, by the way, I'm out.
Yeah.
And your thing here, as I'm going to go back to your compass, but your thing is this: you've only been flying right now. You've only been flying. There are heights beyond that. There's going into the atmosphere, going into space. Like there's so much more than just flying. You haven't even hit it yet. So don't worry. You're in good shape. Yeah. Like there's like you continuing your journey is only going to create more space for others to come and fly too. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So I heard, let's just give it a shot. Right. Something simple. I don't want to be told no today. And like that simple thing. And it could be external, but I think right now where the part that like it's going to be more important is, are you going to say it to yourself?
Yeah.
Right. I don't care about the outcome. We've talked about this in the past, but like I that fire part, like I would pay attention to it. That fire inside of you. Pay attention and tend to that. You got a big gasoline dump when he came up and said, I believe in you and you belong here. But now it's your responsibility to tend to that yourself.
Yeah.
Right. And so some things that I was hearing around what gets that fire burning for you, the booty shake. It was against everything I believe in. And I told them it was about against everything you believe. And from what I know, you do this. Like, part of what continues to make you successful is you see people doing different things and you say, no, that's not it. Actually, this is how it should be.
Yeah.
So I want to call that out, right? And it might even be with like the way that other people are building out their stuff and saying, hey, for your flock, they might be out there saying, I think I need to do it this way. And you can go and be like, no, absolutely not. What's the message that you're sending out there? Right? You said, it felt like me and it felt like I was home. And then the thing that really seemed to keep coming out was, this is fun for me. I'm able to play there, even if it's just for a little bit. That element there, my thing is, find what's fun for you again. This does not need to be hard.
Yeah. Not
for you. For other people who want to play, am I the best dancer? Am I the best X, Y, and Z? Am I the best coach out there? Am I like, that's there? It's a lot of work to be the best. It ain't that hard to be the only.
Yeah.
So I would keep that in mind for you, where it's like the fire, that feeling of belonging. This is fun for me. I want you to keep being in places where you don't belong. Honestly, that used to be like the sentence that used to hold me back. I'm like, I don't belong here. Right. And now I realize, I'm like, those are the only rooms that I want to be in. That's the only place where my growth lies. You want to know, like, launching pads? Just go find a room you don't belong in tomorrow.
Yeah.
Go find a room you don't belong in tomorrow. And like overnight, I think you'll be able to be reconnected with you. I say overnight, but I don't like doing like short like overnight success stuff. So take that with a grain of salt. But I think you'll find some elements there. How does that feel to you here? If we were wrapping up this conversation right here, like, just bring us home.
It feels great. It feels familiar. I felt this before, not in this way, but it's a feeling of, there's an excitement. It's almost like, it is, I guess it's like that Jamie King moment again that says, you're allowed, go. Go on.
Yeah. It's already yours.
Yeah, it feels dangerous, but in my heart, I know that that's exactly what it's meant to feel like. And to everybody else who is probably looking from the outside in on something like this, who doesn't understand this way of thinking, it would be very easy to switch off from it and turn around and run in the other direction. And the curious girl who doesn't want to be told no wants to walk into it. And that's how I feel right now. I want to walk into this. And I don't feel ready, but I feel prepared.
Yay. Yeah. If you're ready, it's like, I don't know, I get the sense that you'll be bored.
Yeah.
Like, this is like, so if you had one insight from today, did I want to ask that question? No, I'm going to ask you this one. I like to leave here. I talk about practice, and now I evolve practice to be like play, right? Like, so if there was one thing that you're going to play with over the next 30 days as a result of this conversation, and they can evolve after this year. But in this moment, what's coming up for you? If there was one thing that you were going to play with after this conversation for the next 30 days that you felt could either give you more awareness or help you fly or to be more visible to your flock, like, what is that one thing? And it doesn't have to be a big thing. It can be incredibly small. I'm looking for like a practice that you can do on a regular basis in any given conversation or something like that. What would you play with?
I'm going to walk into that space of danger, and I'm going to wave at people and let them know that I'm here. One of the things that I've avoided doing for such a long time, because it's felt like scary and dangerous, is this. It's talking to people live as myself via video, or, you know, and having those conversations and creating conversations where I show a little bit of my vulnerability, or what might force me to be slightly vulnerable, to show people what I can do. And I constantly run in the other direction, but I realize that in order to step into this, in order to truly play on this field, people need to understand who I am, why I am, and where I'm going, so that they can then make the determination as to whether or not they want to come to. Right now, I'm not showing anybody where I am or where I'm going, but I'm expecting people to follow. I'm expecting people to see it and to want to go to. And that is what I'm going to do. That is the practice I'm going to put into place. I am going to start talking to people, not just people that I know, but people that don't know me yet, via live video, or, you know, and I'm going to start letting them know who I am, where I've been, and where I'm going, and find those people who want to come along. That's what I'm going to do. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Awesome. And remember, as this goes on, it's as simple as like, you don't have to make it too big. It can be in the smallest moment. When you go out and get dinner tomorrow, you know, like it's all these small things compound. So I'm happy to hear that you're playing. I'm glad that you have something here. Hey, thanks for trusting me to play this game. I know that, like, you know the game I play. And so like, I acknowledge you for saying yes, even knowing that there. All right. But you're a high flyer. Keep flying. That's it. And like we'll fly together. Like that's the game that we're playing. Sound good to you?
Oh man, does it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you.